आवाज आ रही है ये फोनोग्राफ से, ढूंढो खुदा को दिल से ना लाफो गज़ाफ से।
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another episode of Future of Work. Today, we are diving into a world that is as exciting as it is futuristic, building virtual worlds. The rise of virtual reality architects. Virtual reality is no longer just about games or headsets. It's about reimagining how we live, how we work, learn, and even dream. And the people building these digital realities, they are shaping the future in some of the most creative and groundbreaking ways. With me in the studio is Mudathir Giwa, is the co-founder, creative director, and lead programmer at GibraSoft, a Lagos-based game development studio creating immersive African-themed experiences that connect with players across the globe. Mudathir Sahib, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Also, joining us virtually is Omoumi Akinwande, from fashion to finance, and now into 3D animation and interior design. She's blending art, structure, and tech in some pretty amazing ways, especially with her growing interest in artificial intelligence, as it is transforming the creative world. Omoumi, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
We are glad to have you.
Yeah, I'm pleased to be here too. Thank you very much.
Before we continue, like always, we'd listen to some individuals to have their views about and their understanding of the reality of virtual reality.
I personally, it's something that I would love to do, virtual reality, because of the fact that considering the situation of technological advancement right now, we realize that online engagement is not just enough, right? When we have online meetings, communications through online channels, just that is not just enough. But virtual reality is something that brings us closer to the reality through this same online platform. This is why it's something that I've always loved, and I've always loved the idea of it, and I've always looked forward to the idea of virtual reality. I'd love to see us communicating through virtual reality, interacting through virtual reality, entering the virtual reality world. Instead of having billboards, signboards left and right everywhere, it has to be static in our locations. We can just enter into our own ecosystem, our own newly designed ecosystem, and we experience the world from another view. We have from the virtual reality world, we are going to see that the idea of online engagement, communication through online, it wouldn't be just the idea of listening to somebody and just staring at their pictures. It's going to be a situation whereby you are closer to the reality of talking to that person. It is almost like a reality, but it is still all boiled down to technology. So personally for me, I've always loved the idea of virtual reality, and I would love to see us interacting with virtual reality in our daily lives. It could change it based on it takes some risk. Maybe you are being expected in in the company now to do a certain job, certain task. Now, but you are not meant to go there. You don't want to go there, so you going there will take a lot of stress or a lot of time wasting. So then when you go when you are using virtual reality, you should be able to do the work better than you going there physically. First of all, in the business space, and now I'm not talking about this particular sector. In the business space, virtual reality is going to be a game changer, right? Talk about advertisements. You pass through different places every day. You see different advertisements that are static. They are in one location. But this same kind of advertisements can be in virtual reality. You are not living your physical environment. All you have to be is to belong to the world, and then the concept of advertisements will change. You could tap into any business market. You could have a solution from your country here in Nigeria, and the people who need your solution the most, they could be far in the opposite side of your world. Virtual reality is going to be a game changer for that. You don't have to, be looking for the social media platforms of the certain kind of people that you are looking for. In today's world, we have different kind of social media platforms, and we have different kind of audience that dominate these platforms. But the world of virtual reality, imagine we are all living in virtual reality. We don't have to say, okay, we are doing advertisements in Twitter, we are doing another campaign on Instagram. All we have to do is just to do those advertisements in the virtual reality, and then we do it strategically. We tap into whatever market we want to. We bring solutions to people from different parts of the world. We bring awareness campaigns to people in different kind of the world. So I believe virtual reality is going to be a game changer in the business space.
Okay, welcome back. You'd agree with me that it's going to be a fascinating conversation. Virtual reality. Mudafi Sahib, first, I want you to please tell us, what do you understand by virtual reality? And what do virtual reality architects do? And how do they contribute to creating immersive digital worlds?
Thank you very much for having me once again. As for the question, virtual reality architects, they are responsible for designing and building immersive, because that's a very important aspect, immersive and interactive digital spaces that users can then put on their headset and explore in virtual reality. As for the role of the VR architect, I can say it is generally divided into 4 major steps. So the first one would be the design phase. This is the phase we usually refer to as the pre-production stage. This is where we get to answer all the questions relating to the project. You get to understand your audience, that's those you are targeting with the particular application, the budget, among many other constraints. So once you figure, by the time you are done with this stage, you will end up with a document we refer to as the design document. Because going forward with the rest of the project, this design document will be your main guide. And then once you are done with this, you can move on to the next stage, which is the stage where you actually build out the virtual reality space. You could decide.
Before we go deep into what virtual reality architects actually do, just tell us something about, for those who will not understand what virtual reality actually mean. So what is that virtual reality?
Okay, like this 4 of us here now in the studio, this is like, let's call this real reality. So virtual reality is simply blending reality, as in we in the real space, transporting us to the virtual space. So here you put on an headset, you start seeing things around you that have been built by the VR architects that are not there, but you would feel they are there. Like let's say video gaming, for instance. We are used to playing it, just seeing the characters on the screen. Imagine those characters coming at you and feels like they are really there next to you. So that is what the virtual reality really is about. It's, in general, let's just say immersion. You get to exist in a whole new world. I don't know if you've seen the movie Ready Player One.
Nah.
Okay, it's a very popular movie that really dives deep into what this feels like. So that is virtual reality in a nutshell.
Okay. So virtual reality, I think I've seen some persons play games, put on this headset and you see some people fighting. They feel like, what are they fighting against? So that is what virtual reality means. Okay, now you can now proceed to tell us what the virtual reality, the architects are those who build these games, right?
Yeah.
So now you can tell us what they actually do and how they do.
Okay, so now after you've done the important aspect of designing, the next stage will now be to move on to actually building out the world. You could choose to go a realistic art style or a stylized, depending on what your design documents have previously concluded upon. So this is the stage where you get to use tools like Blender for your 3D modeling stuff, 3ds Max, Unity, Unreal, Audacity, all of these tools. They all come together to let you put together this virtual world that players will explore. But now that you are done building this world, it's just there, a world. We still need to be able to interact with it. So that comes the third stage, which is adding interactivity. So this stage, VR architects would put measures in place to ensure that users can move through this world in an immersive and intuitive manner. You need to be able to interact with things. If I see this cup in the space, I need to be able to pick it up, because these are the things that will help you really feel like you are in this space. Because if you just make a virtual reality world where you're just walking through, bumping through everything and they don't react, then that is not immersive. So aside from this, now this will now bring us to the fourth aspect, which is a very, very crucial aspect, especially in VR, which is optimization. It is very, very important. You need to make sure to put in measures that would ensure a smooth experience for the user of your application, and making sure to remove issues like lag and motion sickness, because once there is lag, because virtual reality by itself is already something we can call, should I say, deceit, because look at me sitting down now, but in a VR environment, I am moving around. My brain would find it hard to communicate. The brain would know that the leg is not moving, but how come I'm running around in this space? So because of that, you might end up having motion sickness. So you need to really optimize it, reduce lag, to be able to fool the brain more into believing, yes, I am actually in this space, forgetting reality. So that is why this aspect is very, very important. So I would say in general, the scope and size of the project depends on the type. In gaming, for example, we build out entire worlds with multiple levels, 3D models, animations, sound files, story, background, so many things. But in other applications like in real estate, tourism and exhibition, fashion industries, among others, we simply build virtual walkthroughs and simulations. In Nigeria...
So what that means is that virtual reality is not just for games.
Yeah, not anymore.
It exists in so many other industries.
Yeah.
So in real estate, for example, you can build virtual reality where, so you just walk through the virtual, if I want to show people how my estate looks like, so you don't need to even come to the site to come and check the estate. Just go into virtual reality and you see everything.
Yeah.
Oh.
So those industries can really benefit from it, as I've mentioned already. You've already used one of the examples I actually have in mind, but I have another good example to bring it all together. That would be in the tourism and exhibitions sector. As we all know, across the world, there are various iconic locations every single one of us would love to visit one day. But due to these locations, they could range from the Taj Mahal, the Eiffel Tower, Masjid Mubarak, among many others, the Great Wall of China. But due to limitations like finance, time, basically all of those usual limitations you have and preventing you from visiting these areas. In this case, a VR architect's job would be to come in, follow through the stages I previously mentioned, design, get all the data required, design, it's always important to add the immersive part, design and build the immersive and interactive version of these things that would let us users put on our headsets and get a taste of what it feels like to actually be in these locations, but in virtual reality.
Okay, so we'll come back to you. I know you are quite ready. You have a lot of things to tell us, but let us listen for a moment to know. Yeah, we have understood that virtual reality is something that is quite interesting. It exists in different sectors of the economy, and it can be very useful to everybody. But from your experience, what industries do you think are currently embracing virtual reality, and what are the most exciting applications that exist currently for virtual reality?
All right, thank you very much. For now, I think industries that are basically using virtual realities would be the medical industry. The medical industries are using it for research. They are using it for practicals, whereby you can go virtually and operate on a human being. Now, the beautiful part is the simulations there. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly.
All right. So the beautiful part is the stimulations inside. So let's assume a doctor or a student doctor now. So now this work as educational aspect and in the medical aspect. So a student doctor or even a real doctor could go virtually to operate on a patient with a brain tumor. So right there, they're trying to remove the brain tumor. Everything is being stimulated, and you see the blood coming out, you see the water, you can feel the heartbeats, you can feel, so you have that mindset that you're actually treating a real human being. And then the fun of it is that, let's say, God forbid, there's a mistake and the patient die. It is actually in an artificial reality. It's not a real human being that is dying. So from there, you could learn your lesson. You could know where the mistake comes from. You would be able to get so many experiences from that virtual space that you have gone to do the operation. So that comes to educational too. So a lot of time while we're doing geography in school, they just tell us about Mars, some other planets, they tell us about some other countries, they tell us about Sahara Desert, and all we do is imagine how it actually look like. But imagine if you can go there virtually and you would feel the Sahara Desert, you could actually almost feel it when there is rain, when there is dust, when, that's experience. It's a lifetime one. You have it stuck in your head like forever. When you are even kind of writing the exam, because you actually felt the extreme things that are happening there, it gives you the memories. You could write everything down. You could write your whole experience down in your exam. So that gives a more high percentage to the education, so that while we are having our education, we are not just assuming and imagining how it is while this child is telling us. We are also feeling what it looks like. Now, for the entertainment industry, you can sit down in your house and attend a program in Mecca during the pilgrimage. You just be in your house and you feel like you're actually in the program. You can even pray in your house, joining them praying in that particular place. You can attend lectures, you can attend musical concerts. right there in your room. And then, so many experiences that you can attend virtually while sitting down in the house. And
Yeah.
you have that experience.
Yeah,
You
truly,
understand? You have
I
that
agree.
experience
I agree
just
with
in your
you
hand.
that virtual reality exists in a lot of sectors. You have mentioned the medical sector. You mentioned the healthcare sector. You mentioned the education sector. He's mentioned the tourism and so many other sectors. Of course, virtual reality exists in all of these sectors. But now I now begin to wonder. Because it feels as if virtual reality is going to take a lot of things for you to be able to build all of these things. So can you please tell us, what are those skills you need for you to be able to be a virtual reality architect?
Okay, so to be able to get started as a VR architect, I would say you require a mix of technical skills and creative skills as well. So on the technical side, the basic building block for the technical aspect would be in the asset authoring stage. That is the stage where you get to build or bring in your assets, everything that you would use to put together the VR world. So let's say I'm putting together the studio, for instance, the seats, the tables, the cups, everything, all of these assets, I need to get them from somewhere. But so for getting started as a VR architect, you would need to have basic understanding, basic 3D modeling skills. That's using tools like Blender, 3ds Max, and the likes. You also need to have basic sound engineering skills too. I don't mean composing the sound yourself, just being able to acquire these sounds from various places and then being able to put all of these assets together to have a very good soundscape in your environment to really immerse the users. And then depending on the scope or what the project requires, let's say in this studio again, after putting on my headset to come to an interview and I'm being interviewed by a virtual guest, that is, you are not real, you're actually a 3D model that has been programmed, you would need to have animations. So in that case, someone looking to get involved as a VR architect will also need to have basic animation skills too. So this and a few other skills, but these are like the major ones. Aside from this, you also need to know your way to understand the engine you are using to build the VR world. In this case, Unity or Unreal Engine. So you need to know how to navigate your way through using these tools as it relates to bringing your virtual world to life. But then I mentioned something earlier about something very important, that is interactivity. If you can't interact with this world, it is just an empty space. So you need to have basic programming skills to be able to put in logic. But by programming, you don't need to be afraid of anything. You don't need to get down and dirty programming like the old days. Unity and Unreal Engine have very powerful visual scripting tools that would let you just drag nodes together and build logic without writing a single line of code. However, it also helps too if you can have basic understanding of programming languages like C# or C++ for Unity and Unreal Engine respectively. So aside from this, I said you need to have a mix of technical skills and creative skills. The creative aspect is also very, very important, as this would help you in coming up with unique and efficient ways of solving all of the problems that would arise during development. So let's take optimization, for example, because you would need to make sure your application can run on even lower end devices because there are various ranges of performance. You also need to make sure to eliminate lag and motion sickness, like I previously mentioned. So as the VR architect, you need to decide, do you need to build highly detailed environments or less detailed environments? Would it be better for you to use modular assets? That is an asset that you've built like Lego blocks that you can rearrange in different ways to have the desired results.
Of all this, I think the most important skill, I think, is that creative skill. If you are creative enough with your technical skill, you'll be able to bring everything together. But if you have the technical skill, but you are not very creative, you might find it difficult to work in the virtual reality
you might end up with unoptimized apps that users won't enjoy using.
Oh, okay. So, Omomi, back to you. Back to you, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay, now, looking at the way we've been speaking about virtual reality, of course, it mentions probably replacing me with a virtual presenter where I would not even have to sit on this seat again, and someone else would have to probably an unreal guest or an unreal presenter will have to interview you the way I'm doing now. So, you know, I feel like that will pose a lot of fear or threat on various individuals. So how do you think virtual reality have been accepted in countries like Nigeria, and the adoption of virtual reality? How do you think it has been, particularly in Nigeria and other African countries?
Okay, thank you very much. The assumption that virtual reality would replace human being in work is actually not real, because there is a whole lot of things that human being needs, that the virtual reality needs, that is generated from human being. Because no matter how smart they are, we are the real human being. We are creative, and 70% of the time we can reason, which they really cannot, which set us apart from the virtual and the real human being. Is the reasoning that we can also do. So for me, accepting virtual reality in Nigeria, I think we are not doing bad, and also in some other African countries, we've accepted it to be that it helps us in our challenges. We are seeing it as a problem-solving tool, not a competition to us. So a whole lot of industries have accepted it, for the education, the tourism, healthcare, and especially the architect. Looking at cities like Lagos, Abuja, I think you want to solve problems of flooding, you want to solve problems of bad roads. There are times the architects keep repairing a particular road, and there is always an issue. So I think if we go there to, if we have the opportunity to actually do some work on that particular road artificially, and then we'll be able to see the mistake before it occurs, and then help to do that that particular, solve the problem before it even occurs. So for me, it is more of a problem solving tool than a competition.
Yeah, you nailed it. Yeah, virtual reality should be more of a problem solving tool rather than being a competitor. And like you said, one thing that sets us apart from this virtual reality is reasoning. The fact that, of course, it has been programmed in the virtual reality. What is going to happen has been set there. This should happen when this happens. But in the real reality, if I'm permitted to say that, of course, you can change the dynamics, and the differentiation that differentiates the real reality from the virtual reality. Oh, Mudathir Sahib.
Exactly.
As a professional, of course, there are several individuals, young persons, people that are just coming out from school, who also feel like, I want to be like Mudathir, I want to do what he is doing. What advice would you give to such individuals?
Okay, as VR is still an emerging industry in Africa, especially in Nigeria, those who get started now would have a very huge advantage as adoption grows. So I would say for someone looking to get involved as a VR architect, my first advice to them would be to start learning now. They need to start practicing, because tools like Unreal Engine, Blender, and those other tools I've mentioned are free. So there's nothing really stopping you from getting involved now.
Oh.
So that is like the first aspect of my advice, because there is a series of them, they all tie together. So you also need to take online courses, not necessarily the paid ones, but there are very amazing paid ones too on sites like Udemy. But there are also a lot of free resources online. YouTube, you can find so many. And then you can also look up to those that have done it already before you. Seek out mentors, have mentors, ask them, because they are experienced already. But without taking much of our time on that first aspect, the next one would be to think beyond gaming, because gaming is not the only sector that VR is applicable to. So many other industries are using it now. So like industries like real estate, education, training and simulation, exhibition and tourism among the likes. So find where you fit. So if you're already working in a particular industry and you feel you can actually bring in VR to it.
So the first advice is start learning now.
Okay.
And the second is think beyond gaming.
Beyond gaming.
So among me, if you are going to give an advice to someone who wants to learn, what would be your advice?
Okay, my advice would be, number one, artificial intelligence, virtual reality are not gender-based. So I want to encourage both genders to embrace it. It's something that is interesting and intriguing. You always want to know more. You always want to learn more. And then for the tools and learning, yeah, I know that the schools might be expensive, but you could always go online to check, what is this thing? How can I learn it? There are a lot of YouTube channels that you can watch how this application work, and you can try to do it. Blender is also a free tool. You can download it and start practicing it. And this is something that is going to take over. It's not like, it's not something you want to sit down and watch, because it's eventually going to be the real thing. So it's for everybody. No age limit, no gender limit. Everybody can do it.
So yeah, the bottom line of your own advice is virtual reality is for everyone. Nobody should be left out. Whatever your profession, whatever your gender, your color, your ethnicity, your level, your background, you can learn virtual reality. Start learning now, like Mudathir Sahib said. Start learning now and think beyond gaming. Be creative about it. Think about, in fact, industries where we do not have virtual reality architects working on now. You can think about, how can we come in? How can we be helpful in these industries? And you would make your way. We have very few experts in that field right now. And if you can start now, you will have your way. Omawumi, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for being with us on this show. We appreciate your invaluable insight. Mudathir Sahib, Jazakumullah khairan for giving us the best on this show. We've had very interesting discussion. I'm sure our viewers at home are willing to go into the field of virtual reality now. I want to become a virtual reality architect.
Yeah.
Probably I will come to you to learn.
No problem.
Viewers, thank you very much for being with us on this show. We are sure you have also learned a lot about virtual reality. And just like our guests have said, if you are interested in virtual reality, please start learning now. Start now. When you learn, you will become better. And by the time the industry grows, you grow with it. You get what you want. The future of the workspace is evolving, and there are opportunities waiting for everyone. Before we meet for the next episode, if you have questions, comments, or observations, please do not hesitate to reach out to us via africa@mta.tv. And the next episode, we'll be talking about blockchain and cryptocurrency. Till then, I remain your host, Abdul Qadir Ismail Oluwagbemiga. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
जब तक अमल नहीं है दिले पाको साफ से, जब तक अमल नहीं है दिले पाको साफ से, कमतर नहीं ये मशगला बुत के तवाफ से, कमतर नहीं ये मशगला बुत के तवाफ से।